What's going on, YouTube world and all who inhabit it? Now, I know in my last video I had said that I was going to make videos a lot more often, and I just got busy with college and everything, but I got my homework done uh, for the weekend, and I found some time, so I figured I'd make this video. Now, this video, I think, kind of fits for the month of October because it's kind of creepy and upsetting and unsettling. And when I first wanted to do this video, when I first heard about this incident, it was supposed to be a rage video because this case and this news upset me greatly. But I didn't do it when I wanted to because I wasn't able to. I was very busy, and also because I thought that the emotions that I felt about it were very, very hostile, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to discuss the subject at the time, which I know takes away from the rage factor. I know you guys like when I get angry about things for some reason, and I'm very passionate and pissed at things. So I'm sorry for that lack of rage. Now, when I heard about this case, I didn't hear about it when it first happened. I actually heard about it on the news a couple months ago. And of course, when I heard about it, I was very pissed off and very upset and just kind of awestruck that this even could happen. I think it's senseless, and there was absolutely no need, and there was no common sense in it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, as the title implies, it's a murder case that kind of gives, well, it does give gamers a very, very bad name, and specifically it affects Slender Man. Now, gamers have always kind of taken a bad rap because of the fact that video games initiate violence and da 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 da, you know that story, how that goes. And I'm not a firm believer in that because I've been playing video games since I got my hands on a Sega Genesis, and I've been killing and slaughtering things ever since then, and I'm in no way or sense of the term a physically violent person. I yell a lot. That's about as far as I go. So of course I felt the need to defend this. Now, what actually happened was that on May 31st of last year, 2014, some teenagers from Wisconsin had played the game and followed it kind of cultly. They took it far too seriously, and I guess you could say they were pretty big fans of the game. But where they got the idea to lure one of their friends into the woods and stab her 19 times and leave her in a ditch, I'm not sure where the idea came from to justify their actions. And of course, when I heard about this, not only is it very sad and unsettling, but it made no sense to me. So, of course, the first question I asked was why? And then I heard the motive, which was absolutely ridiculous to me. They did it because they wanted to appease Slender Man. They wanted to do this because they thought killing somebody, killing their friend in this case, would allow Slender Man to reward them with his mansion and stuff, and just all these kind of ridiculous, non-existent things. Now, this pissed me off for a couple reasons. Number one, because Slender Man is a fictional character. There is no Slender Man that lurks around in the woods to, you know, to kill you or reward you for killing your friends. So they're taking um, a non-existent fake thing just for the sake of entertainment and turning it into something that can justify a frankly vile and senseless act. And the second reason that this upset me, and the far more personal reason, is because I know, just like they've always done, is that gamers and video games, of course, are going to be looked at and they're going to take a bullet. Which, of course, as I said earlier, I am not a supporter of. I do not believe that video games promote violence. Just like I don't think that guns do. I think it's purely the person behind the gun, or in this case, behind the controller. I think if your parents raised you right and taught you the difference between, what's real, what's fake, what's right, what's wrong, you should be able to play those games like that. And they're fun and appealing because, like Grand Theft Auto, for example, you can do things in that game that are very illegal, and they don't have any real life repercussions. But that should be as far as it goes. You should be able to dictate the fact that that's a fictional, you're a fictional character in a fictional setting, and what you're doing would be wrong in the real world, but okay in that one. And I think this idea that video games don't promote violence, or sorry, that they do promote violence, is a bunch of bullcrap, because they don't promote violence. No video game company intends to make a game that would entice a 12-year-old to murder an innocent child for the sake of a fictional character. Nobody would make a product that would do that. Their video games and movies and things like that are solely made for the purpose of entertainment, and that is it. So I think putting the blame on video games and movies and TV like that, when your child goes out and shoots up a college or whatever, I think that is a cop-out, because you're not asking the real question of, that you look at what they did, whether they, played Grand Theft Auto or Slender Man, or watched, the Saw movies or something, but you don't look at and critique their thought process Because clearly anybody that would watch a TV show and say, "Oh, I'm gonna copy that," or "I'm gonna play Slender Man," and then go out and try to appease him so I can live in his mansion that clearly doesn't exist. And if it does, I want to know where it is because I want, I want to, I want to live there. But anybody that can get that kind of idea is definitely, most certainly, 1010% not a sane person. Is that a video game's fault? Is that a movie's fault? Is that a TV show's fault? I don't believe so. I think it's just finding something else to blame rather than saying that your child or anybody that commits these heinous crimes because that has been linked to things like this. Um, I think that's a cop out, you know, and just gives somebody something else to blame rather than your child quite possibly might be mentally unstable or insane. Now, I'm not pointing the finger because, everybody's got problems at some point. But I mean, realistically, if I was a parent and my kid did something like that, I don't think I would look at a video game and say, well, that's definitely what provoked the thought. I would assume that maybe they've had these thoughts prior to their actions. Now, I'm not saying you should let a small child play violent video games. Don't let a 6-year-old sit there with Grand Theft Auto and go nuts. No, there are age appropriate games that your child should you know stay away from games that aren't within their age bracket. I think that is important. But my mom, when I was about 10 or whatever, she started letting me play rated M games with the idea that she trusted me to make the distinction between right and wrong and fact or fiction. And no matter the violent games that I've played over the years, even as an adult, nothing that I have done, I've played games like Mortal Kombat, and the list can go on as the games get more sophisticated and increasingly more violent. Nothing I've ever played has provoked any ounce of me wanting to harm anybody. And I mean, if you want to get technical and analyze what Slender Man is, I've played Slender Man, and if they got the idea of Slender Man running around killing people, they're reading the game wrong, because that's not what it is. It might be assumed that he kills people, but realistically, all the game is it's set in the woods, and you run around finding these notes in dark places, and you run around with a flashlight, and it's all spooky and scary, which is not something I'd want to do in real life in the first place. But it's a slight horror game in the fact that Slender Man, who's just a figure with no face. He's just kind of got a mannequin head in a suit. That's all he is just a mannequin in a suit, pretty much. But he's out there. He's going to pop up somewhere. So it's just that fear of knowing he's there and not knowing where or when. And the idea is to collect all the notes in the level before he gets to you. And like I said, it's not really clear that he murders people because literally all that happens when he finds you is he pops up on the screen, which is supposed to cause a jump scare, and then your screen goes kind of staticky, like when the TV goes out. There's, it makes a static noise, and the screen goes white, and then it starts over. There's not really any violent act that Slender Man does to even copy, other than kind of like the boogeyman's coming to get you kind of thing. But you don't see any violent act take place. So there again, if you want to get technical and analyze what is going on, and I've thought about it. If you want to get technical and really analyze what's going on in the game, there's not. It's designed to scare you, just like Five Nights at Freddy's. Now that one's a little bit different because there's kind of a sadistic story that goes along with that. Um, but realistically, if you didn't know the story to it, nothing is really happens there. It's just jump scare. Now there are Slender Man legends, and you could read into that too. I'm sure, just like you could Five Nights at Freddy's, and which I have not, so I don't really know whether or not what the legends imply and the things that Slender Man does. But this focus was on the video game, and at face value, if you actually sit down and play it, all it's gonna make you do is make you jump. So if they could play a simple game, jump scare game like that, and get the idea that, number one, this mannequin head in a suit actually exists somewhere out in the woods, and then get the idea that we're gonna gain his favor by slaughtering our poor innocent friend and leave her out in a ditch. Clearly, I'm sorry to say, your child, your children are nuts, and I don't think any fault should be on Slender Man at all for that. And the worst part is that they were very open about why they did it, and they wanted to appease Slender Man so that he would reward them and they would live in paradise, basically, wherever his mansion is in the woods. Which the video game does not imply any of their motive. He doesn't live in a mansion in the woods. He's just there. So their motive was extremely fabricated. But I think as much as the core of it upset me, they were basically let off the hook. They pleaded not guilty for murder, which I don't think is right either. Yes, they're 12-year-olds whom, committed murder, and as to where they got the idea and the motive to do so, they're clearly not mentally stable 12-year-olds who committed murder. Murder is against the law, and it is a sin. Not to get religious, but it is. It's just, it's a very vile thing to do. And as much as, like I said, as much as it at its core upset me that this happened, it even upset me more when I found out that they got off scot-free. Um, so, no matter what you believe, I'm not trying to start any arguments by stating what I believe as far as do video games cause violence. I'm sure some of you think that way, and if you do, I'm sure you have validating facts, like I do. And of course, I respect your opinions and all that stuff. But I hope this kind of, as gamers, because I know anybody that watches this channel is either a fan of me or a fan of video games, and they know how passionate I am in particularly about that subject. So I hope watching this that whether you do or don't think video games are to blame, particularly Slender Man, I hope that you're upset by this, because I greatly was. And I think that in part because, Slender Man is definitely taken a hit, and like always, gamers are, is because, it's parents that don't understand, and they're looking for something to blame. But anyway, I mean, it should be upsetting, and I hope it is, because I can't tell you how livid I was to hear the story and to research it a little bit that I did. But we're gonna stop the negativity and stuff there. And I hope you guys are all doing well. It's been extremely busy on my end of things, but you know what? I hope you guys are still kicking out there, doing you, and have a happy Halloween, guys. From me to you, mwah. Have lots of candy. Don't get sick, and be safe. See you guys later. Bye.